So this is Defeating Adventism number 25. And as I just said in the previous video, and these videos are being recorded back to back, this video here is part 2 of 2 parts. And it still has to do, if you haven't watched the first one, if you stumbled across this and haven't watched the first one, watch the first one. This video here is going to take Ellen White's First Vision, and we're going to discuss another aspect of it that was not discussed in part 1. You know, it's not something I noticed. I got a lot of Mormon books around me, behind me. And what I've known about Mormonism for a long time is first visions are a problem, at least in Mormonism. The first vision of Joseph Smith, very controversial topic. And you know what? This first vision of Ellen White, equally as controversial. Though may not be quite as well known, equally as controversial. So let's look at what we're gonna look at. So similarly in part 1, we're gonna start off with early writings. Again, this is my 1882 original edition of early writings that I'm quoting from. If you have the PDF version that you got from the White Estate, you'll find the page numberings are not the same. I know the White Estate one says they didn't change anything, but yeah, they did. The page numberings are different. I'm quoting this original book here printed in 1882. I'm also going to quote Testimonies for the Church, Volume 1, copyright 1948. This is Volume 1 of a 9-volume series. What you are also going to see on screen is a PDF document that I got off the Seventh-day Adventist Archive website of Millerite literature. And you're going to see a January 1846 issue of the Daystar magazine where Sister Ellen Harmon published her first vision in letter format. So let's look at that Daystar, early writings, and testimonies on screen now.
All right, and we are going to start here, as promised, looking at early writings, 1882. We're going to look at this page here, page 9, where it says what? My first vision. But look, we got an asterisk and a footnote that says what? This view was given soon after the Great Advent Disappointment in 1844 and first published in 1846. Only a few of the events of the future were seen at the time. Later views have been more full. Okay, so only a few events were seen at this time, and later views, I'm assuming later visions perhaps, have been more full. I don't know. We'll see. But we're going to look at this first published in 1846. But first, we're going to look at what the preface says here on page 4. No shadow of change has been made in any idea or sentiment of the original work. Well, that's good to know. So they're telling us there is some internal integrity here. And verbal changes have been made under the author's own eye and with her approval. I don't know what they mean by verbal changes. I know what they mean by changes. But verbal changes, this is a book. This is a narrative. This is written. This is not verbal. Just poorly written. Vague enough, I guess, right? To let Adventists squirm out of it. Nonetheless, if there are changes, it's with her full approval. So, they said it was printed in 1846. Here it is, 1846. Got this magazine off the official Adventist Archive website. And you can see here it's called the Daystar, January 24th, 1846. And here we have, we're going to jump down to page 31 of this magazine. And you can see here with the red arrow, we have a letter from Sister Harmon, Portland, Maine, December 20th, 1845. So you're right, soon after the disappointment of 1844. This got published in the 1846. Now, this letter here extends below this red box into this center column and into this next column. I mean, this is that whole first vision that's in early writings, and you're going to see later in Testimonies for the Church. However, we're going to focus just on this piece right here in it. So now here we have that piece I said we're going to focus on, and on the right hand side we got the early writings, which is the same first vision account. So with that in mind, what's it say? You can see here it says what? Fell off the path down in the dark. Look at the top of the page here on early writings. Fell off the path down into the dark. So I just chose it right there because it's the top of the page here for early writings. And then, but keep reading. Down into the dark and the wicked world below. Okay, and it says fell off the path down in the dark and the wicked world below. It was just as impossible. And what's it say? Soon we heard. Wait a minute. That's not the same. This has changed. Why did it change? All these underlined words in yellow, which we're going to see later, are not here. But see, it picks up again right here where it says, we heard the voice of God. Look here on early writings. We heard the voice of God. Look down here now in the day star. We heard the voice of God. See these words, the word soon is not in the original one, in the original text. It was added, and they removed 39 words. Wow. Why would they do such a thing? Well, let's examine the same first vision in Testimonies for the Church. And you know what's interesting here about the first vision and Testimonies? I don't see an asterisk. I don't see it telling us when it was first published. I think that's interesting. But again, this is Ellen White's First Vision. And you see the same words, right? Fell off the path down into the dark, wicked world. And it's the same here. You don't see the word soon over here in the yellow text. You don't see any of this yellow text over here. But it does pick up again where it says, we heard the voice of God, we heard the voice of God, etc. What are these missing words? Here's the missing words. It says this, it was just as impossible for them to get on the path again and go to the city, as all the wicked world which God had rejected. They fell all the way along the path one after another. Ellen White is prophesying that there were individuals who were on this path to heaven after the great disappointment, and for some reason they fell off the path, and then what? It's impossible for them to get on the path again because God rejected them. Whatever it is that they did, they committed the unforgivable sin. And here we have another case again of Ellen White going beyond the Scriptures, because the Scriptures does not tell us that there are individuals who will fall off the path and commit the unforgivable sin and be rejected forever by God. No, you only see that here in Ellen White's writing. What we really have here is an artifact left over from early Adventism and something called the shut door doctrine. Simplistically defining it, it was basically that after 1844, you couldn't be saved anymore. That's it. The door was shut. That's why it's called the shut door doctrine. And Ellen White was a believer in that for a while. Of course, she did renounce it later, but at this point, she was a believer in it. And that's why it's easy for her to say in vision, it was impossible for them to get back on the path again because God rejected them. Because they were, in her mind, at that time, there were people who were being rejected. And the door of forgiveness was closed. And that's why God had rejected them. Isn't it interesting that she, that's at least the early writing says, right? She removed those words. She changed her. Now, is this vision from God or not? If it's from God, why is she removing the words from God? Is she embarrassed about what God says? Of course, the answer is it's not from God. Ellen White is a false prophet. Let's end it right here. And the Lord said to me, the prophets are prophesying lies in my name. I did not send them, nor did I command them or speak to them. They are prophesying to you a lying vision, worthless divination, and the deceit of their own minds. Seventh-day Adventists, you have been fooled and deceived in Seventh-day Adventism. You've been given a prophet, a spirit of prophecy, who gives you lying, worthless, divination, false prophecies, who even changes what she thinks she got in her mind from God. It is time for you Seventh-day Adventists to recognize that you belong to a false religion. In Adventism, you've been given a false Jesus, and that you need to come to the real Jesus of the Bible, and you need to do so before it's too late.